Here we are. Massive welcome to all our subscribers, first-time viewers, and of course, LinkedIn members. You asked for more educational content, and we have delivered with the first educational session here on InfoSec Live. And if you're an aspiring red teamer or penetration tester, stay tuned, as today I'm going to be joined by Momen Eldawakhly, who's going to be taking you, our viewers, through a practical session on how to use the WCE. Now, the WCE, for those that don't know, is a Python-based tool that allows sending commands to a compromised network node through IP packet window flags using TCP with a calculated checksum and other metrics that make the packet look legitimate and very hard to detect. But before we get into that and a little bit about our guest, Momen is the attack simulation lead at Samurai Digital Security. He's dedicated to enhancing digital security through red teaming, attack simulation, and cybersecurity research. And his journey involves uncovering vulnerabilities in systems used by industry leaders such as Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Yandex, and others, basically contributing to a safer online environment for everyone. He's also had the honor of collaborating with the US CISA to address zero-day vulnerabilities in critical OT systems, and his mission extends beyond individual accomplishments. For him, it's about fortifying digital realms and actively contributing to a secure online future through research and practice. And more importantly for me, he's a regular mentor for anyone who wants to get into red team in the InfoSec Live community. But before we bring him on, and for those new to the channel, I'm your host, Simon Lindstead, and by sharing stories and best practices over the last few months, it's led to over 185,000 views here on YouTube. By you are amazing. Hold on, it's gone up a bit. 9,302 subscribers. Off the back of that, we're very proud to now be an official media partner for RSA in San Francisco this year. And I'm going to be hosting vendors for interviews from the 6th to the 9th of May. So if you're a vendor and you're tuning in and watching this and you're interested, reach out to me here or on the booking page on RSA's site. Just search for InfoSec Live and you should find us there. But let's not forget, if I can get the mouse to work, we will not forget where this all started, which is the free InfoSec Live community, where we have study groups, mentor sessions, and regular networking events to help you raise your game in cybersecurity, no matter what stage you are in your career, giving you the opportunity to network with over 6,000 cyber professionals. And of course, we would love to see you there. So if you're brave enough to click a QR link, working in cybersecurity, feel free. If you're not, I get that. There's a link in the description of the YouTube channel here that you can click to join the community as well. Finally, if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed just buy me a cheeky decaf coffee, we do have a way you can show your appreciation right here on our YouTube channel with 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So if you're watching it live, please do hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified of future content. And remember, each and every one of our live shows gives you, our audience, the chance to engage with our guests. So make sure you do drop any questions in the chat. Now, we're not going to have the chat up on screen today because Momen's going to be doing a demo. So we need the whole space for that. But I will be monitoring the chat. So if you've got any questions, drop them in. I'll flag them and we'll make sure we bring them up at the end. Good news is, time for me to stop rambling on. Let's bring Momen on. Welcome.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
I just want to take a quick moment before I get you to introduce yourself, just to say a massive heartfelt thank you from me and all the community for everything you've done recently. Momen's run this session in the community, which was very, very well received. And he's also done some mentoring sessions as well. So Momen, thank you. It's much appreciated.
No,
Welcome to the show.
No, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, I've given a little bit of background about you, but do you want to just tell the audience a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Momen, as Simon just introduced. I'm always interested in I'm always doing like some interesting research on OT devices, IoT devices, etc., from both hardware and software side. I'm also interested in developing adversary techniques and procedures, doing adversary simulation, attacks and engagements, assessments, etc., and developing some red teaming stuff in the community, and surely some personal projects that I'm always working on to enhance my skills before even enhancing other people's skills, because we are all learning.
Very much so. You're being quite humble though, aren't you, Momen? Let's be honest, because when you and I spoke not on YouTube, online but offline, as it were. You told me how many vulnerabilities, critical vulnerabilities, you found recently. Do you want to just expand on that a little bit? Because I think our audience should know who's teaching them today.
Yeah, so it's about 40 zero days. It's about 40 zero days. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's about 40 critical to high severity 0 days in many OT devices. Like most of them about, like, for example, attaching and detaching OT components, as well as doing like out of band file rewriting, for example. This is just another. This is just a single vulnerability from those that I found. Out of band file rewrite, aka what I call is a pre-access or a pre-initial access privilege escalation to the root directly in an OT system. Okay, by exploiting an unpatchable vulnerability, because simply it is a something intended to be in the C and C++ based applications on Unix systems. Is something cannot be fixed because this is how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, by exploiting this misconfiguration, which should be intended, you can literally just rewrite any file on the system, including a file that could give you a root shell directly. Yeah.
Oh my dear. Yeah, that's horrendous, isn't it? Really. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
No worries.
Before I do the demonstration, just give us a bit of context for what it is you're going to be going through today.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, from what I saw in the community, okay, most people when they, for example, come to hide their tracks during their movement through the network, or even in exfiltrating data, which is quite rare in real life engagements to exfiltrate your data nowadays, because what the people and the clients are concerned about these days is how to compromise the network, how to move literally from a device to another, how to be like a domain controller, and from a domain controller to a forced, aka enterprise admin, and these kind of stuff. Okay, but anyway, when people actually start to think, okay, how can I hide my tracks? All of them started to think, okay, so for example, I'm gonna do HTTP tunneling to bypass the deep packet inspection. Deep packet inspection place, I can't use SSH tunneling, for example, so I'm gonna use HTTP tunneling. Other people know I'm going to use, for example, Slack or Discord or these kind of social media platforms and streaming platforms in order to hide my tracks, to do my C2, to enhance my C2 by exploiting these services. But yeah, well, what I can see there is all these kind of resources that any red teamer can rely on simply could be blocked. Because let's say, even if there is no deep packet inspection in place, okay, you can use SSH tunneling, no problem with that. Tell me how you gonna do it through an HR device. As an HR device will not be using SSH at all in any infrastructure, or at least, because I don't like to say the word any, because everything
Yeah,
has
sure.
had an exception. Yeah, but let's say in most infrastructures, an HR will not simply have an SSH in place. Okay, if you compromise the Windows device, for example, you will have no SSH client in the beginning for sure, and in
Yeah,
most Windows versions, okay, you will not have an SSH in place. How you gonna override this? Okay, so I started to think, okay, what about having something? It's simple, but at the same time effective and unpatchable. In any engagements I do, I start at first to see what can be unpatchable, so it can be long lasting. Okay,
yeah,
and I came to the idea, okay, why not to exploit the TCP itself? Nobody can block the TCP. It's the core of any network. Nobody can block the TCP, and at the same time, the window flag value itself is manipulatable, and at the same time calculatable based on the data that can be sent through the packet. So why not to exploit this? Okay, and do some threading to send multiple packets carrying my command, for example, in order to execute it in the remote system. And to be honest, in the beginning, this wasn't for command and control. It was for data exfiltration. But I was like, okay, data exfiltration, but this is not gonna be a real world thing, because these days there is no data exfiltration a lot in real life engagements. Client, any client won't need any of its data to be exfiltrated outside the
No.
network, right? Yeah, exactly. So I converted it into a command and control way of communicating between devices, and yeah, here we are.
Exciting. Thank you so much. Do you want to bring it up, and I'm going to mute my microphone and let you take the floor and amaze everyone with this moment.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm going to start showing some slides now, and these slides will just have a little bit of information. I know that not everybody just like to go into theoretical stuff, etc., etc., but I promise you, this is not theoretical at all. It's just a showcase of how it works, because when we run the script will just do the theoretical or the theory itself. Okay, so
Brilliant.
you should at least have a little of knowledge about how this tool or how this let's say algorithm works. Okay,
Brilliant.
so first of all,
There we go. Got you.
yeah,
There we go. Right, let me mute my microphone.
okay. So first of all, I know that we have so many cyber experts that maybe attending this session. So I also want to take care of the non-expert or the junior cybersecurity people as well, because we want everybody to be in the same boat. So I'm first gonna introduce what the data exfiltration is, what the WCA is, what's the workflow of the WCE itself, what's is the data exfiltration used to be, and the encapsulation of a malicious data, how it was like previously, and sometimes nowadays, okay, and how the tool is actually mitigating a big gap. And where is the gap in the tool? Because the tool is not perfect at all. There is a gap in the tool, but there is also a mitigation for that gap. So we're gonna just take all this into consideration in this session. So we're gonna start. First of all, the data exfiltration is very simple. You compromised a host, you escalated your privilege, and simply you are moving your data from that host to let me just do a slideshow. Okay, so simply the simply the data exfiltration is you compromise the host, escalate your privileges, and now you are exfiltrating the data from the device to or the victim device to the attacker device. Some of you may ask, why should I do this? As an attacker, I'm not here talking about like either you're an ethical or illegal attacker. I'm talking in general. As an attacker, what is the benefit that I will gain from exfiltrating data? I'm going to give you a very, very basic example. You exfiltrated or you, sorry, compromised the host. And after compromising the host, you simply found yourself inside a mail server. And this mail server, let's say, is an exchange mail server. Okay. No matter what was your entrance method, either using a 0 day or a vulnerability, etc., etc. Okay, you just gained access to that host, and that host simply is a mail server. You escalated your privileges and you have an administrative account inside this mail server. So, for example, in Exchange, there are multiple rules, different than the rules on the system itself. So, for example, in Exchange mail servers, and by Exchange here, surely we mean Microsoft Exchange on-premise mail server or even cloud mail server. But I think, yeah, I'm not gonna just go into side topics at the meantime. But anyway, in Microsoft Exchange mail server, okay, there are, for example, the mail export rule, which is simply I could export any or specific mailbox from inside the mail server, right? Why would I do this? Because simply mails, and specifically the old ones in any infrastructure, in my opinion, is the most critical data that you can obtain. Why? Because most times when you enter your company for the first time, okay, credentials will be sent to you over the mail. License and license keys will be sent to you over the mail. When you come to communicate with an HR, you will be sending your personal documents, your private documents over the mail. If you are even working on a cybersecurity company, sometimes your penetration testing reports will be sent over the mail. But surely not everybody doing this. Some people are smart enough to do it through SharePoint nowadays. But I'm just talking in general. Sometimes you will be sending your penetration testing reports, red teaming reports, scoping questions, etc., etc. All these kind of stuff will be sent simply through the mail. So how do you think this will not be like a treasure for an attacker? Any attacker can simply take these credentials, all the credentials that has been sent over the mail. Will take, for example, the visa application that has been sent through the mail, the whole confidential documents, etc., etc., and will start use them. For example, if there is a password, so simply the password can be reused, etc., etc. All these kind of stuff. Okay, so if you are inside an engagement, okay, the first thing that you will start to think about, okay, I'm in a mail server and this mail server is Exchange. I don't want to create a new user because creating a new user will create system alerts, because simply if I am an attacker and I'm going to create like a new user, simply that user should be powerful, because a user without, for example, having mailbox access to the whole other mailboxes in the directory, so simply I have no value here, right? So what I'm doing is what I'm gonna do is simply I'm going to compromise that mail server and start to hunt for an existing user, right? Okay, so if you are going to analyze mailbox by mailbox, okay, in your engagement, this gonna be literally, it's just gonna take so long. Okay, and at the same time, if you thought about, okay, I'm not going to analyze the whole emails or the whole mailboxes, all what I'm doing is simply I'm just going to take them like by the highest privilege in the corporate, etc., etc. All these kind of stuff is good, but how do you guarantee that you will have enough time during an engagement before, for example, a blue teamer? And surely here I'm not talking about the stealthy of the engagement on the host or on the infrastructure itself right now. I'm talking about how stealthy you are when it comes to the network interactions, because surely if we are going to talk about something like how to be stealthy inside a host itself or an active directory, it's going to be a very, very different topic that we are talking about right now with different approaches. So simply you will not have that much time because before the original owner of the account noticed that there's something weird is going on. There is a queue which is simply has a list of email boxes that is being exported, etc., etc. So how do you think you can just secure yourself by exfiltrating the whole mailboxes or only some specific mailboxes out of the network to analyze them in your host machine if you are going to export them as PST file, for example? Okay, so you should do it by data exfiltration. You are going, for example, to first export the mailboxes. After exporting them, you are going to transfer them from the victim device to another device. And to do it, okay, you should find a reliable way that allows you to do something like that. So first of all, if you thought about something like that, let's say the machine that you are compromising is the mail server, and that mail server, after you analyze the application, or sorry, the whole infrastructure, has no other communication way other than, for example, let's say WMI or PS exec or something like that. These are the whole communication ways, or even RDP. Okay, so if you, for example, decided to use SSH as an exfiltration methodology in your machine, which is simply the victim machine, this will be suspicious because there was no SSH traffic figured out before. So simply to do something like that, you will have to choose a protocol that cannot be blocked, which is simply the TCP. Okay, and here is the functionality of the WCE comes in. We want to do data exfiltration to examine some data, or to even just save some sort of data outside of the machine, so simply we can analyze them later, etc., etc. Okay, and at the same time we know that this will be noisy a little bit, especially if the data size is huge. Okay, maybe, and by huge I mean over let's say one gigabyte, because simply when doing data exfiltration, okay, you're gonna literally just try to move as fast as possible from your victim machine. So simply, you may send loads and loads of packets just to transfer 1 GB. Okay, so in most cases, it will be easy to detect, and at the same time, it's going to be noisy, right? But we are here trying to solve this problem. So, what is the WCE? It's a short term for window commander and exfiltrator. Okay, it's simply exploiting the normal and intended structures of the packet, as I also mentioned in the beginning of the session. We are going to exploit something very normal, and at the same time, it cannot be thought that this may handle a malicious data, which is simply the window TCP flag. We are going to inject our data inside the window TCP flag, and at the same time doing the calculations to make sure that we are transferring the data without transferring these data inside an invalid packet, which is simply going to raise some alerts. Okay, it's quite because simply you can control how noisy it is. You can control the delay between each packet you send. So you are the controller of your noise, which is simply something everybody want to have. If you are going to, let's say, transfer your data through an SH, in most cases, if you don't configure the tool that you are using correctly, you will be noisy because the tool is intended to transfer data. If you are using a tool specifically created for data transfer through TCP or HTTP, okay, the tool will be transferring the data as fast as possible. But in the WCE, you are the controller. Okay, so how the WCE is actually working. Before starting in explaining how the WCE is working, etc., etc. Okay, let's just take some terms to define them. Okay, here as you can see, we have two types of encoding: the stealth encoding and the shareability encoding. Okay, the stealth encoding here. It is not something weird, or it is not an invention or a new algorithm of encoding, etc., etc. No, at all. The stealth encoding is the obfuscation, in other words. So, for example, I want to transfer, let's say, LS, but if LS noticed as a command inside the network, simply LS will be blocked by the SIEM solution deployed in the network. So, simply, my stealthness that I'm trying to achieve will be broken. Okay, so simply the stealth encoding is the obfuscation of a string before transferring it into a shareable way. Okay, that we can use inside a TCP packet. How is that? Let's say LS, okay, in ROT13. And by the way, guys, by mentioning ROT13, this is just a demo. This is just an example because all of us know that ROT13, for example, is not like designed for security specifically, or if it's even designed for security or even obfuscating at the first place, simply it can be broken, or even it can be just guessed, so you can use whatever encoding you want, base 64, and then, for example, remove the padding of the two equal signs at the end of your base 64 encoding. You can use the Unicode instead. You can do whatever you want. What I'm showing you right now is just a mindset of how can you exploit something that is not even complex at all. It's just something ordinary. Okay, something so simple, but at the same time so effective. Okay, so the stealth encoding here will be, as I taught you, something simple or something complex. In my case here, and for the demo purpose, okay, I used ROT13. So, for example, LS will not be the exact LS. It will be, let's say, and this is just an assumption. Okay, it will be something like ZI, for example. Okay, and then that other form, or that new form of LS string, will be encoded in a shareability encoding. And the shareability encoding here is simply the decimal base 10. Why decimal base 10 specifically? Because you cannot put strings inside the window TCP packet. the window TCP flag, because inside the window TCP flag, the purpose of that flag is simply to tell the remote system that will be receiving that TCP flag how big or that data is that will be carried on the TCP packet itself. Okay, and at the same time, it's just there to tell the length of the data that is inside the TCP packet itself. Okay, so simply because it's gonna be like a length or even a size, so simply it must be an integer. For example, it's gonna tell that okay, so this data that is actually inside this TCP packet is equal to 1024. Okay. Okay, so it's equals to 1024. Are you going to write 1024 in strings? Surely not. It's going to be in integers. Okay. And this is why we convert our characters into decimal base 10. And then we are going to craft the packet with our malformed window flag, okay, and send it to the device. Now, this was from whatever device that want to send an information or to send a command. Send an information will be, for example, from a victim device, and that victim device is sending some data or some valuable data from inside the machine to the victim machine. If we are going to talk about the command and control scenario here, this will be sent from a the victim sorry the attacker machine, and the attacker machine will simply be sending the command, and the receiver here or the recipient here will be simply the victim. Okay, so we are going first to decode it from the stealth encoding. So sorry, we are going first to decode it from the shareability encoding. This is a typo here, okay? Because simply when you come to decode your window TCP flag, you should first decode it from the form that it's on right now. So the latest form of our window TCP flag was the shareable encode, which is simply decimal base 10. So what we are doing right now is simply decoding it from the shareable encoding, which is the decimal base 10, and after that, decoding it from the stealth encoding. Because, as we agreed, if we are going to assume that LS will be ZI after doing ROT13 on it, okay, after decoding it from the decimal base 10 encoding, it will be ZI. So it can't be processed yet. So we are going to decode it from the ROT13, and simply we are going to find it through the regex by network sniffing through the network and execute and exfiltrate it. It might be a little bit complex at the beginning, but the complexity here is not because the difficulty of this process or workflow. It's just because there are multiple steps to be considered. But don't worry, I have a better explanation for this process now that you will be seeing soon. Okay, now the known techniques during exfiltration. Okay, you compromise the machine, you escalate your privileges, you come to exfiltrate, but simply you get caught. Let's say you get caught because, for example, you were using suspicious protocol or like non-common protocol inside the network infrastructure or something like that, right? So you get caught, and because you get caught, simply you have no access to the victim machine now, right? But now, with this technique, and this is surely the simplified version, okay, you compromise the machine, escalate your privileges, your data is actually located here, and the attacker machine will receive it. And surely, as you can see, this is in the scenario or in the case of exfiltration. Now let's see the simplified version of the workflow with CNC, command and control. Okay, I compromise the machine, escalated my privileges, I persist, and here we are following the red team ops cyber kill chain for sure. Okay, I installed, and here because we are using something that is a scripting language, which is simply Python. Okay, for multiple reasons that we can talk about in later sessions, or you can even just figure out yourself if you are familiar with red team, etc., etc. Okay, we are just using a scripting language. Okay, And this scripting language will be the receiver, or will be, or sorry, this script will be the receiver script. The receiver script is responsible for sniffing into the network, matching a specific regex into the network, capturing a packet, and then decoding that packet or decoding that TCP window flag, okay, from the already captured packet through the regex, okay, and then decode it again from a stealth encoding, okay, and simply execute the command. And here, from the attacker side, I'm doing a command and control. How is that? For example, I'm going to run ACMD, aka a command. Before sending that command, I'm going to encode it with ROT13. Then I'm going to make it shareable through the network by converting the ROT13 string into decimal base 10. Okay, and simply I'm going to inject it inside a window flag in a TCP packet, spreading the packet through the network. And here in the regex that I'm going to be capturing, okay, I'm going to look for a specific data from a specific port, for example. Okay, and that port will be the port that I will receive the data from, which is going to be, let's say, the destination port. Okay, and after receiving this data in the destination port, okay, I will be decoding it and executing it after surely decoding it the two times, as we mentioned. Okay, so now it's the demo side. I know that you, and even me, to be honest, got bored from that, like that long um, uh, uh, that long sharing of, like, theoretical information. But now let's see it live. Okay. Okay.
If you need me
I
to help, if you need to bring up another screen, I can help with that. I am
Yeah.
I am still here. I was just being quiet. It's really really interesting. I had no idea it could be used for that. I mean, I'm not a techie, but it's not something I've ever heard of before either.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we
But
go.
it's simple. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this here, or to be honest, I'm thinking the best way to do this is to share my entire screen, because by sharing my entire screen, I'll be actually using two terminals. Okay, so this is the first terminal, or yeah, but surely inside a VM, and this is my original terminal here. Okay, so we are going to assume that here in Arch Linux, this is the victim machine. And here from Mac OS, this is going to be the attacker machine. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is to determine what my network interface is, which is simply ENP0S1. Okay, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to start firing up my listener. Okay, so the interface here will be ENP0S1 and the packet count. And by packet count here, I mean how many packets I'm going to receive. Okay, so the, I think it's gonna be packet count. One sec. I'm just gonna exactly all what I want to get is just the help. Yeah, the PC and P. Okay, so the packet count will be 2, and the port itself will be, let's say, 8081 or 8080. Anyway, okay, and simply I'm going just to you know just like wait for any command, or sorry, wait for any TCP packet in the whole network that comes to the port 8081. Okay, in another window, I'm going to run ifconfig to determine what my IP is. So this is my IP that I will be sending that packet to, right? And now I'm going to run the script, or the sender script, uh, in my end here. Okay, and the sender script is taken the dash dp, which is the destination port, is going to be 8081. The command will be ls, and here ls actually has two strings, which is the l and s. So simply what I'm going to do is send an ls only, okay, which is 2. So I set the packet count here to 2, and then the target here will be the IP address. You can also set the source IP address. For example, to be honest with you, I don't care what the source IP address is at the meantime, but I can even make the source IP address something like the same IP. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, and now I can also put the source port that I'm going to send this packet from. I can make it, for example, 53. Okay, acting like a DNS server. It's something not usual in networks. Okay, but here we are just doing a demo. So I am going to put my password. Okay, yeah. So the delay time will be, for example, let's say 2 seconds per packet. Okay. Here, what you will see right now is simply the command got executed. Okay, with a 2 seconds delay between each packet. Okay, so this packet has been sent already the first time, and then after 2 seconds, the next command has been sent, and the command here has been executed. And this is surely the encoded command after the stealth encoding, which was YF, and here the decoded command after rotating it 13 times again reversely. Okay, it was LS. Then it has executed, and the zero here simply is the execution code, which means executed successfully. If we are going to look like deeper into this using Wireshark for sure, okay, we are going to assume that we are just like doing network analysis. Yep, should we be working now? Let me clean my network, sorry, my terminal again. I'm going to be listening. Yeah, I'm going to list for any, yeah, okay, and I'm going to specify the TCP port to be 8081 just to make it easier for us. Okay, now let me send the packet. Okay, yeah, let's see how it's gonna be like. Okay, so the source here for sure is not the one we spoofed. Okay, and this is because of some technical configuration that I didn't implement in the machine here. But anyway, the source port is 53 as we said it, and the destination port, which is simply the one that we are listening on right now here, is 8081. Okay, if we are going to look deeper into this packet, especially here in the hex, okay, let's look specifically at the window. Okay, the window TCP flag is actually exists here. One sec. The window. Yeah, this is the window flag right here, which is Y. Okay, so this is the Y. Uh, um, this is the Y character that you can see actually here. This is the Y character, okay? And here inside the TCP, which is the second one, this is the F character that you can see here, okay? So let's assume that you're going to send a huge command, a command consists of a huge PowerShell, for example, payload to be ran into the memory to bypass the MZ, for example, something like that, something intensive, okay? To send something like that without encoding it into a stealth encoding, which is going to be either ROT13, base 64, anything you want, okay, it will be a little bit suspicious because if just like some analyst, he is, let's say, a, um, an expert analyst. He decided, okay, so let's analyze this TCP packet step by step, flag by flag, etc., etc. When he's gonna analyze the hex codes of the values of each TCP flag here, he will be, for example, saying PowerShell or something like that, or even, for example, let's say a specific exploitation for a 0 day, etc., etc. It will be simply clear text here because we are not doing magic. All what we are doing is simply taking a window TCP flag and inserting our data inside that window TCP flag simply. Okay, so our data can be visible here. But if we, for example, decided to insert like characters or random characters, but surely they are not random because we are encoding them with ROT13 encoding, okay, simply the characters will make no sense. Okay, because simply the F here can be like this M, which we don't know where is it from, this E, etc., etc., this P. So it will make no sense for the security analyst. Now, finally, there is a gap here. This way of communicating or this way of sending data, etc., or command and control is not robust. There is a problem here. The problem that we are facing right now, okay, is simply we are sending empty packets. So inside the window, we are saying that the length is 102, but there's no 102 here. So simply it can be detected. Surely not directly detected because there is no that much people that are actually still knowing about this algorithm. Let me just call it algorithm. Okay, but at the same time, there is a problem. The window TCP flag here saying that there is a data with the length 102, but there's no data. Okay, this is a weakness here. This can be simply be like a suspicious packet, right? But at the same time, there is a mitigation for this gap here, which is simply we are going to send, let's say, 102. So we are going to calculate how the final number of our window TCP flag will be. And based on that number, we are going to generate random data and insert them inside our TCP packet. This is mitigation number one. Another mitigations that also exists. Okay. Um, Also, there is another problem here, which is simply a static source port. Okay, source ports are random. So if we are going to use static source ports, it's going to be suspicious. But also, this can be this can be simply fixed by generating random source ports. The source port is not a problem because we are not even listening or looking for the source port. All what we are actually doing is making static destination port, and that destination port may be something also random, but we shouldn't make it random because if we put a random destination port, simply we will not be able to listen for that port when we listen here from the receiver script. Okay, but we at least can obfuscate, or in another word, make or randomize the source port, which is simply so easy to be implemented. Also, some other weaknesses are actually exist, but these are the most like common weaknesses that I noticed because I'm not actually um, standing a lot on every single research or project I'm doing. I'm just doing like the basic of that project, and I'm not gonna get into that project again until I need it. Okay, if I need it for a single engagement, I'm just gonna do it and simply just carry on, move on. Yeah. So this was the WCE, the tool, the theory behind the tool, and again, WCE is just a mindset. I'm not telling you to do the same. Okay. All what I'm telling you to do is simply just try to exploit or to use the intended behaviors for your like approaches. Yeah. You're on mute.
My camera just got frozen then. Moment, apologies. So
Oh yeah.
let's just check to see if there's any questions. I haven't seen any come through. What's my question? What's the biggest challenge for people gaining an understanding of how to do this? What do they need to practice first? For the people who are new to the industry and training up as red teamers, what should they focus on? What fundamentals to be in a position to understand the concepts behind this?
Simply the basic network concepts. Okay, because I didn't even, for example, put the code behind the whole tool. I'm just
Of
here,
course.
as you can see. Yeah, I'm just here, as you can see. Even though the code is simple, but at the same time, it involves some network internals. But at the same time, it's just simple, you know? So simply, what I'm telling you right now is just understanding the basic network concepts, like, for example, the TCP. The TCP packet fundamentals. What are the TCP
Yeah.
flags? How can you utilize the TCP flags, what are the controllable TCP flags and uncontrollable TCP flags, etc., etc. These kind of stuff are the most important things, so you can simply understand something like that.
Okay, thank you. And there is a question. I don't know the name of the person who's posted the question because all it says on my end is LinkedIn user. So apologies for not knowing your name. But the question
Mhm.
is there a compiled binary for WCE for both sender/receiver For example,
Hmm.
Windows doesn't come with Python pre-installed.
Yeah, so simply, this is the idea behind this, okay? I'm giving you the concept in a very simple language, like let's say Python, okay? But you can take the same concept and apply it with C, with C sharp, with C++, okay, with Go, with Rust, okay, with any binary you want, okay? Personally, I didn't create a binary for the WCE because simply I don't think that I'm going to use it. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just time consuming to create another version from the WCE using a language like C or any compiled language. But the code is actually in front of you. The whole theory is available for you everywhere because I posted this everywhere actually, and it also exists in my GitHub. Okay, so you can take the same theory and
Do you
apply
have a
it.
link to that? Do you have a link to your GitHub you can put in the private chat that I can share in the chat here? Is
Oh
that
yeah,
okay?
sure. Yeah,
While
yeah,
you're
sure,
doing
sure.
that, there's a couple of other links I'm going to share. One is Momen's LinkedIn profile. If you want to connect with him, I'm sure you'd be open to taking connection requests. And seeing as you've got a day job, right? You work
Hmm.
for Samurai Digital
Yeah,
Security. I'm right in saying that, aren't I? So
yeah.
I'm going to drop their LinkedIn profile in the chat as well. So if anyone wants to check out the fortunate employer who's lucky enough to give Moment a job at the moment, the link to them is there. But the link to his GitHub is also dropping in there. And I interrupted you to ask that, so apologies.
No,
Do you
no,
want to
no.
continue what you were saying?
Yeah, no worries. So simply, the final answer, simply, you have the code and the theory. Simply, it is not hard. Take the theory, take the code, and try to convert it into a compiled version. And nowadays, and this is actually a cheat, but nowadays you don't even have to do it yourself. Take the Python code, tell the AI, convert this
Yeah.
into a C code. That's it.
I suppose, would you, however, caveat, warning here, for those that are learning, should they understand how to do that themselves before they start getting AI to do it for them? Or do you think it's acceptable to jump in and start using it straight away?
Well, to be honest, that's a big question, and in my point of view, it depends. Okay, because if you have enough time to learn, simply just learn. I will not
Yeah,
encourage anybody just to jump off the stairs because
no,
simply you will lose a huge amount of information that you must take into consideration during your journey. Okay, but if you are inside an engagement and there is no time to learn, so simply the priority here is to making your job finished in a good way and then simply think about learning what you already done because I'm just gonna speak from the perspective of someone who already worked in many red team engagements. Okay, sometimes inside red team engagements you will have even no time for putting your TTPS before getting into an engagement. Okay, sometimes your TTPS will be like, okay, now you are going to do, let's say, a GTA, global threat assessment, and after this global threat assessment, okay, if you jumped into let's say an internal network, you will be literally trying to simulate an insider threat. So okay, when should I do this? Tomorrow. You will not even have time, okay, to prepare to see or even to prepare your arsenal, to sharpen your memory, because sometimes and surely you will forget some information, forget some tactics,
of
techniques and
course.
procedures, etc., etc. Yeah, so you should be reliable. So I'd say if you have time, learn. If you don't have time, use AI, but put a note to yourself to learn what you already implemented. Use AI after the end of the engagement.
Yeah, completely agree. Moment, we're pretty much out of time. I told you 45 minutes and I've kept you for 6 minutes longer. So, look, thank you so much for this and for everything you're doing for the whole community and especially the InfoSec Live community. We are very, very thankful. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. There's been lots and lots of you watching this tonight, so I hope you found it useful. If you want to reach out to Moment, I've dropped his LinkedIn in there in the comments. Again, link to Samurai Digital. Their link is in there if you want to check them out. But Moment, have a great rest of the day. Same to everyone else. And I hope to see you in the community soon.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Take care.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
take care.
See you soon.
No
See you all
worries.
later.
See
Bye.
you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.